running schools in the mid-north up there, so I sort of joined up about then. Yeah, I learned a fair bit when I was in the school. Sort of most of the time out in the sheds, you learn to pick up a little bit, but no one was really there. Everyone was trying to make a dollar. And when I first went to the shearing schools, they'd done a little bit of hands-on with the videos and stuff like that, and your sort of footwork and all that started to make, like, you realise how big a role it plays. In the shearing competition, I'm up to about 115 open shows now, and within that, there's one that, like the 2000 World Champs, was probably a highlight, and a few things spun off of that. Like I got to shear in front of John Howard up at the Chogham conference in 2001, I think it was, and yeah, so there was a fair bit of enjoyment out of it. The keys to good quality shearing are, I think, hand-eye coordination is a big thing, like and efficiency of blows. Like they reckon the quickest way around the sheep's on the skin, so like efficiency is number one, and then all the other parts come to play into it as well as footwork, and it's probably your left hand is probably one of the biggest things in shearing merinos anyhow, because as you know, there's a lot of wrinkles on them, and if you don't get them out the way, well, they go through the comb.
Position the sheep on its inside rump. The sheep's front inside leg is pushed behind the shearer's inside leg to maintain control. Make sure the outside foot is on the centre line. The inside foot must be just behind the centre line. Make sure you pull the outside leg aside to expose the brisket. Control the sheep using both your knees. Turn the sheep towards the pen door. Keep the sheep on its inside hip. Move inside foot forward. And make sure the sheep's outside leg is straight.
Okay, I just want to go through a few faults on this sheep that a lot of novices do when they're just starting to learn to shear. The first one is on this brisket area. You can see there's been a lot of fribs left down the inside of this brisket. We go down to the belly, we're looking at all the fribs at the bottom of the belly in that flank area, over to the wool around the teats, onto our first hind leg. We can see that there's also fribs coming into the flank and also travelling down this first hind leg. There's been a lot of wool left on this rump area and also on that undermine area. We go up the neck, travel up the neck, and we find there's been a chunk of wool left underneath the chin and also a little bit around the ears. We pick up the front shoulder and also underneath that front leg, the fribs coming down onto the long blow. To the backbone. We can see the last blow on the backbone. There's also been wool left, especially coming up onto the neck area on the last side. Coming down this last side on the leg, we find fribs again on the top side and also the bottom side coming down to the last leg. Okay, finishing off our sheep, we find again wool left on the sheep coming onto the last hind leg, and also a tuft of wool right down on that undermine, on the backbone.
Select the sheep and position your body along the side of the sheep. Turn the sheep's head back towards the ribs. Push down on the sheep's rump until the sheep lands on the floor. Drag by the inside front leg and neck wool. Select the sheep and position your body alongside the sheep. Turn the sheep's head back towards the ribs. Place your knee in front of your hand on the sheep's rump. Use your body weight to push the sheep's rump to the floor. Drag by inside front leg and neck wool. Select the sheep and position your body alongside the sheep. Place your hand on the sheep's nose. Irritate the sheep's nose with your fingers to make the sheep back up towards the pen door. Drag by the inside front leg and neck wool.
I'd just like to go over some basic pressure points on the sheep now that may have been covered before, which we can use minimal effort to manipulate the legs of the animal. These pressure points are quite handy when shearing, as we can straighten legs and manoeuvre legs, as I said, with minimal effort. First and most obvious ones that come into mind are on the hind legs, where that knuckle of the back leg becomes bent. By light pressure on that spot, we can straighten the leg. As you can see, it takes very little pressure if it's in the right spot to straighten that animal's legs. If we're in the wrong spot, it can't be done, no matter how much force we use. So there's a pressure point right on top of that knuckle that can be used to straighten the animal's legs. Similarly, we have on the front shoulder, on the first shoulder we call dropping onto the long blow. If this leg becomes high, sometimes the animal does try to get away or protect itself by raking this front leg. We can use the same on top of the shoulder. There is a pressure point which can straighten that front leg. And also underneath that shoulder, we can use the pressure point, which, as you can see, can straighten that front leg. By just using one finger in there on the correct point, it can straighten this front leg, which means that hock, if preferred, can be taken by grabbing that leg and straightening the front hock. Also, on the last front leg of the animal, exactly the same. The animal sometimes may raise that leg, creating hollows and dips, making it hard for the flat surface of our comb to shear. So we can also, if the leg is up like that, use the pressure point here on top of the shoulder, which can straighten that leg. If the sheep is resisting and this pressure point may not work, we can go back similarly to the front leg and use the bottom one as well. And with little pressure, we can make sure that front leg is straight so that the area is flat, therefore easier to shear. Right, I'm just going to give a brief overview of how to set up your stand for shearing when you come to the shearing shed first thing in the morning. It only has to take 5 minutes, quick and easy, and everything's placed in a position so that it's efficient for you to shear throughout the day. First of all, I'll just go over briefly a bit of what we use as our clothing or our uniform for shearing. We use these things which are called moccasins. They're good footwear for shearing in because they're comfortable. You can feel the floor, you can feel the sheep on your feet, as foot position is very important, so we need to feel where our feet are. They're quite durable. They last a lot longer than, say, sneakers here, for example, which will only last a month or two before the stitching will break out and they'll rot and you'll need some more. Also shearing pants, which are double layered pants to stop the prickles getting through and burrs, and these are also very durable. And a shearing singlet, which usually has a longer tail on the back so that as you bend over, your back's protected from the wind and the chill. In setting up our stand, we have things like oil bottles and gear containers we use. We just put these all in a logical place so that during the day we're not wasting time changing gear or reaching far to get to our tools. Sometimes it pays to have more than one handpiece if you can, to save you changing combs during the run. You can have 2 or 3 combs set up so that you might have a couple of different types of combs set up so that if the sheep vary a little bit, you can swap to your other type of comb. I usually hang my cutters high and then remove a few cutters from a string and place them enough for a run or a couple of runs and place them down low next to my gear pot and just put a bit of oil on them previously, as this will save time when you're changing cutters. Our comb pouch is hung close by too, so that if during the run we need to, if we finish shearing a sheep and during the run we need to change a comb quickly, it's just here. We can take the old comb off, reach, put a new comb on. We don't have to walk far. Most sheds will have a tray or a box like this to place your tools in, which you can place your screwdrivers and sandpaper for shaping combs and your gear brush in, so it's all quite handy. Some sheds don't have this, some sheds have very little, so it pays to carry a few hooks around if you want added places to store your stuff, or maybe even a couple of ocky straps. Some people can use ocky straps to hang things off their plant here, and they all help in getting your gear in the right position for you, because you can't rely on all sheds to have places for all your gear. It's handy to have a bit of tape just close by too, as in our job it's very easy for us to cut ourselves, and it's easy enough if you just nick your finger or need a little bit of a plaster on there, you can just grab it off your stand, tape it up and continue shearing. You don't have to walk over to the other side of the shed and waste 5 minutes taping your finger up because it's bleeding. Counters, watch. Most of the time the shed will have a shed clock. Sometimes these are forgotten or sometimes they're not there, so it pays to carry a watch for your own personal use so you can see what time it is during the run and see how you're going as we shear our sheep to the clock. So to shear so many sheep, you work on shearing each sheep in a certain amount of time. Water bottles close by, sweat towels close by, so we can finish shearing a sheep. When we finish shearing our sheep, we can walk to our catching pen, quick wipe of the head with the sweat towel, click the button, have a drink, straight into the catching pen. These things are just logical and obvious. I mean, it's a lot more obvious to put our drink bottle here than way over the other side where we have to walk over, reach it, get a drink and come back. These are time savers, which in the end will make your shearing more efficient and give you more sheep numbers. On the subject of water, I'd just like to stress how important it is water temperature. We must make sure that our water temperature is not cold or ice cold, as your body consumes far too much energy warming this water up. Water temperature should be cool or just room temperature, and that's the most efficient way to drink your water so your body has the most energy for your shearing.
Okay, I'd just like to go through a little bit of down tube maintenance and also how to oil up our down tube properly so we don't have any overheating problems. I'm just going to start down here and we'll take this short tube off with a little 9/16 spanner. Down here I just want to check that we've got a clutch, which is a safety instrument in our gut here. Just make sure it's not over tightened and it's going to work properly. Check that spindle up here to see there's no wear, excessive wear, and put our tube back on. Okay, when we put our tube back on, this nut, as you can see, I'm a right-hander. I want that nut facing away from me, so when I'm shearing it's not going to be banging me in the leg. If I was a left-hander, that nut would be around the opposite way. Okay, when we put our short tube back on the elbow, we have a slot here, and it needs to line up with this oil hole on the elbow. So we'll line that up first, and also we need this worm drive end just sticking out a bit over the thickness of a 20-cent piece. So we'll just tighten that up to where it's firm to hold it, and it'll be about there. No need to over tighten it, just firm enough so it holds it. Okay, I want to just have a quick look at these cogs, make sure those cogs are not overworn, and also this plastic ferrule. Just have a quick look around that ferrule to make sure there's no cracks or it's broken. If it's been broken, just go and see your boss and get another one. Okay, I'd just like to go through oiling up our stand. On this particular stand there's 5 oil holes. Now manufacturers put these oil holes in for a reason, and it's the best idea to do it to make your stand work properly. Okay, we have one over here. You just need to put a good, I suppose, splash of oil in them. You don't need it running out by the gallons, just enough to keep your stand in working order. There's another one around the back here which is a little bit harder to get at, and it's probably hidden away, but it's just as important as the rest. Okay, we can work our way down now. When we oiled our stand up the top, that oil runs down and lubricates all the spring. We have also another one at the bottom of the spring. That oil runs down and lubricates all our inside gut in this area. We come down to the elbow. There's one on top of the elbow, the cogs, and also there's another oil hole we talked about when we done our short tube. So just get those as well, like so. And also at the bottom of this groove, have your tube at an angle, and that oil will run down and oil up that short gut. Okay, after we've done that, we can get our handpiece and do the same with our handpiece. I like to just start from the front, doing our comb and cutter, tipping our handpiece up to do the post, the front tension pin, the crank roller, back cogs and ferrule. Okay, now we can now put our handpiece on our short tube. First I'd like to just put it on in the mornings especially, and make sure the short gut is not engaged to the handpiece, because I'm going to pull it into gear to warm up all the guts. It's very important, especially cold mornings, to warm them up, or otherwise you'll start shearing, they're very cold and they'll snap. Okay, making sure again that handpiece is not engaged. I'll now turn our motor on and just pull your stand into gear. Okay,